I noticed it when she came through the door.
I know guys shouldn't comment on this, but I like the cut of it.
Oh, thank you.
Modern cut to it.
Yes, thank you very much.
My wife used to be a hairdresser.
You guys ready?
That's awesome.
So that's my
No,
conversation.
absolutely. No, I appreciate
Well, we'd sit around in conversation.
it. So you should know about that.
Hello, sir.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call order the April 13th meeting of the Charlotte County Airport Authority and ask you to turn off your cell phones. We'll start with an invocation. Those that would like to join us, please stand, and then to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we take this time to praise your holy name, and we come together today as an airport authority, and we just ask for your continued blessing and your continued hedge protection around our facilities, our buildings, our planes, commercial airliners, and we just ask now that you bless this board with wisdom, guidance, discernment as we consider our monthly business. We ask this name in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Everybody join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going by an official clock.
Good morning, everyone.
Roll call.
Ready. Mr. Andrews?
Here.
Mrs. Oliver?
Here.
Mr. Carr?
President.
Mr. Hansick?
Here.
Mr. Parrish?
Here.
Mr. Hershen?
Present.
Mrs. Coppola? Here. Thank you.
Okay, the chair would like to recognize Commissioner Doherty, Charlotte County, pinch hitting for Stephen R. Deutsch, and Bill Drybow from the City of Punta Gorda Council. Okay, anyone wishing to address an agenda item, please identify yourself. Seeing none, the agenda has been provided to all the airport commissioners and it's been on our website. Any additions or deletions to the agenda, Mr. Parrish?
No, sir.
Do we have any employee recognition?
Oh, we got a bunch of employees.
Excuse me, I just wanted to mention, in addition, South to Florida on a flight. If anybody's aware of the on flight, is that appropriate right now or later?
It's fine, it's opened up the subject, so go ahead.
Okay. May 2nd, 2023, Punta Gorda Airport will be hosting the veterans. We're doing the honor flight from our airport. I believe it's the first time. Second time? Okay. Second time, and we would like, if you have the time when they return and when they go, to just come to the airport and wish them well and handshake or give them a round of applause. These are our veterans that fought for us. And we're going to take them on a ride to Washington, D.C. to see all the memorials and give them lunch and supper, and it should be a beautiful day. I've been on the honor flight, and it's a terrific, terrific day. And if you ever get an opportunity to do this, I would highly suggest it. I put some papers on the back table if you're interested. Thank you.
Okay. Forgot to mention, this is the agenda. So if you're thinking about getting out of here for lunch. No. All right, back to employee recognition.
All right, who is going to do Keith? And
Okay.
all right, here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen Keith's face around the airport. He's been here for 5 years. First of all, I wanted to thank Keith for his service. He's a prior military Army, 17 years. So, again, thank you very much for your service, Keith. When I first came on board, we did a bit of a reorganization shuffle. And we decided to put Keith in a position where we knew he was going to excel in, which was the fuel administrator of this airport. He's taken the position very, very seriously through FA 139, audits, as well as he assisted with the DoD contract, which he played a major role in for us to secure that. Also, on top of the audits, he has been instrumental in relocating our self-serve fuel farm, avgas, to the Air Center, as well as hopefully putting a new avgas fuel farm over on the north ramp. On top of that, Keith wears many, many different hats on a daily basis, like we all do. But his dedication to this airport hopefully will be working for many, many more years. And again, congratulations on the 5 years, Keith.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Saran is here. He's part of our landside team. He's getting his 5-year award. He's extremely dedicated. He has a sense of style that ups our team. He's always matching. And he's particularly great with our elderly customers. He goes above and beyond and makes sure that their passage up to the ticket counter is seamless, and does an amazing job with it. Congrats on your 5 years.
Thank you very much.
Greg?
Greg did not get the notification of the uniform.
Yeah. So Greg, you exude confidence and leadership skills that bring the landside team up so high, including myself, and I appreciate everything that you've done for the day-to-day job to make it a better department all around.
Thanks, Brad.
Judy?
10 years.
So Judy's getting her 10-year award. She's the longest tenure in our department. Her customers benefit from her calm, level approach, which puts everybody at ease. She is great with customer service, everything that you've done for the airport. Thank you so much. Congrats on 10 years.
Here we go.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ben Duke. I'm the manager of the airside operations team. I'm here to recognize Giorgio Angelino. He achieved his FAA weather certification, which is a very difficult certification and test. It allows us to have additional weather backup so our airliners can come in and land in a certified weather source after our tower leaves. This test is extremely hard, and most people don't pass it the first time. He was able to do that even with only being with the department for 3 months. So very good achievement.
Morning, Commissioners, Mr. Parrish. You might recognize this frequent flyer up here, Mike Timms. As far as employee recognition goes, Mike has been the security and safety compliance specialist for 1.5 years now, and during that time, he's been up here a few times for his certifications that he's received. Most recently, the CCAA ACE Safety Management System certification. Mike has already got our Safety Management Systems program going and ahead of the curve for airports in the nation. The SMS rule just came out from the FAA last month, and we're already well ahead of everybody on that. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, Ray, just stay up there. I'll make you stand by yourself. So, a few years ago, Ray had reached probably the pinnacle of his ability to move up, not because he didn't have the smarts or the training, but he didn't have a degree. So I said, Ray, you got to get a degree. He has gone well beyond getting a degree. He just got his master's in legal studies. I don't want to make a big deal about it because now he wants me to call him Master Ray. He wants to get a PhD and call him doctor, which isn't going to happen. But I want to congratulate him. He's done a master's program in about 4.5 years.
Yeah, total, 4 years.
Total, from the time he started to now, while working full-time and having 2 kids and a wife. And
Does this mean we can cut our legal expenses?
yeah.
It does not allow me to practice law. No.
It's great for me because I get to fix everything that messed up.
So,
Thank you, Ray.
congratulations.
Thank you.
And the most important one, you can go right ahead.
I would like to congratulate Nicola Delph. She works in our finance department, and she's a very valued member of our team. And she completed her U.S. citizenship, and she took the test on Monday, and she took the oath on Tuesday, and she is now a U.S. citizen.
I would like to say thank you all for making part.
It's obvious we couldn't have a successful airport with the employees that we have. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any, no discussion on consent agenda? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Secretary Treasurer's report, Mrs. Coppola.
I'm going to ask for those in.
All right.
Thank you.
We go to the,
Can everybody hear all right?
The light? It's on. Okay. I'm good.
all right, we're all good?
I guess.
Just go over the summaries. We continue to do well. We are struggling with a little bit on the expense side, mostly due to hurricane expenses that will be reimbursed through insurance for the most part. But we are operating in the black, not as much as we had hoped. But if you see the year-to-date, 669 below our budgeted amount, we have about 800,000 in hurricane expenses that we're expecting reimbursements on, either through FEMA or through insurance. So unfortunately, those will show up below the line, so that we'll never see them in this graph. But we're doing well. March was a good month. Flights are down slightly, and we're adjusting our projections based on that. But it looks like it'll be a good year. Look at accounts receivables. You guys had 2 months, but as of the end of the month in February, you can see on the right, almost all are paid in full. So there's no significant problems there. We do have 1 or 2 that we're working with, and we will be writing off or making an adjustment on the Gulf Contours, because that was part of his agreement that we would waive those rents if he complied with the move. So we'll work on that with accounting and get that taken off. Any specific questions? The balance sheet is good, continues to move up.
Mr. Parrish, quick question.
Sure.
The negative, or the 44,000 in red on the accounts receivable
Yes.
as a credit?
Well, that's, yeah. I think someone paid above and beyond.
I got you.
Yeah, so,
I got you.
yeah.
It looks a little unusual.
I
but,
know.
I understand bookkeeping.
I don't. I try and not to understand it. Engineering's much easier than accounting.
Yes, I
Can
agree.
I ask a question?
Sure.
The building that the gentleman vacated, does it need a lot of reconstruction or a lot of rebuilding, or?
About half of it's going to have to be torn down.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was damaged beyond repair, so we'll be
Whoa.
rebuilding a part of it. And that'll come up in a couple of,
And then you can
probably next board
re-render.
meeting.
Wow. Thank you.
Any other questions? Like I said, the balance sheet, our net position's about 169, 170 million. So, and cash is about 48 million. So. All right.
Looks good.
That concludes.
That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on to liaison reports. I'll report, I've been in communication with City Councilman Bill Dreibauer, and there is nothing of concern between the two of us at this point. County Commissioners, Mr. Andrews.
I have nothing to report.
MPO, Mr. Hurston.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our latest meetings, I believe, I reported in February, which was our joint meetings with Sarasota, Manatee County and Lee County. And our next MPO meeting is May 15th. The MPO meeting that I didn't report on was fairly quick. It was, we looked at our 2045 long-range transportation plan, which is of course, a long-range plan, but our 5-year plan, which they call the Transportation Improvement Plan, is a 5-year plan. We adjusted that, and we had our regular committee reports. But other than that, that's it on the MPO. I do have an MPOAC meeting, April 27th in Orlando, and I do not have a schedule yet on the Freight and Rail Committee. Mr. Chairman, did you want me to say anything about attendance at the joint Charlotte County?
I think we should mention that there was a joint meeting between City Council, County Commissioners, and MPOs were there, or we were there as an observer, basically.
Right.
And Mr. Hurston stood in for me, and go ahead.
It was, I think, it was an excellent presentation and was an overall economic review of the county. They started off with a review of the Airport Authority, which you know, I mean, we sound good, let's put it that way, when people talk about us, and of which we are, But Dave Gammon, he put on a excellent presentation with respect to Charlotte County, and but it was nothing earth-shattering. There was really nothing said about the airport except for our growth. They had some old aerials that they showed what we used to look like as compared to what's going on now. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, there was really, I stayed for the whole thing. And other than the lead-off of the Airport Authority, we weren't mentioned.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Community, Mrs. Coppola.
Good morning again. I'm going this afternoon to a women's club meeting. It's a group that meets and raises money for scholarships for local children in our community. So if anybody's interested in joining the group, women, men, we accept everybody. And it's a terrific group. We've given out several scholarships in the past. Usually there's 2 per year, depending on the income. And this year we will be deciding who in our local schools will be getting scholarships from the Women's Club of Port Charlotte. I've been to the Republican Executive Committee meetings. I've been to the Trump Club meetings where we are recognized. And I believe we all had a nice interview with Dave Gammon on the board. And he asked us what we were doing in the future, and it was a very interesting meeting, a very, very good organization to belong to. That's it.
Mrs. Oliver?
I'll defer to Mr. Parrish because I think he probably has a better understanding of what's happening.
The one that we've been working on?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on at the state. Unfortunately, Chad's missing today. He had to take his son to the dentist or something, and he's kind of running state affairs right now. We're tracking a number of bills, some commercial airport specific. I'll send out an update to everybody this afternoon, but we're having some good success. There's one that was heard yesterday on aircraft sales tax exemptions, which wouldn't affect the majority of aircraft sales, but it would affect large aircraft sales, and I know Melbourne's been pushing for that because while the aircraft are made there, 99% are sold out of state because aircraft can move. And so the state's missing out on the sales tax, and they're also missing out on any retrofits and refits of aircraft painting, new interiors, new avionics once they sell. So we're trying to get that to stay in state. The bill on commercial airports seems to be moving forward. We have been fighting any PFAS legislation, and it looks like we're successful in getting that off the table. And there is a vehicle for hire bill that we're trying to get airports excluded from. It would basically say that if you have a vehicle for hire permit from any county, city, it's valid at every county and city and airport and seaport. And that the only way we can limit or instruct how to pick up and do things is through the permit process. And it is actually a violation of some of our grant assurances. We pointed that out to the legislator that's pushing it, and we're hoping we can get airports exempted from that.
Doesn't sound safe.
Well, it's, I understand the reasoning. If you want to pick up a passenger in your limo in Punta Gorda, you have to have a permit. In Charlotte County, you have to have a permit. In Inglewood, Venice, I mean, it does get cumbersome, but airports and seaports are a little different, and we just don't think we should be treated the same as everybody, unfortunately. Powerful people are pushing this, so.
Okay, moving on, item 11, Attorney's Report, Mr. Carr.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
yep. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Is it okay for him to go?
Yes, he can talk now.
Thank you very much. Always interesting to represent the airport. One always compliments the staff. They're great to work with. We currently are working on two major leases. One, of course, is on your agenda today, the MoPro lease. And then there's another one. I don't know if I'm free to say the name, but it's another major lease that we're working on. I tasked Mr. Hackett with those things because, frankly, he has more knowledge and better patience in dealing with real estate leases, but he's working on that. We've advanced the issue of the row hangar 2 substitution. Just to keep you abreast of this, this is the hangar that sits next to the terminal. It's under a land lease. We need that land to build something. We've agreed to move those individuals to another building. We're working out the agreement for doing that. Major issue this month came up with a through-the-fence inquiry from the FAA. Gary and I spent hours going over that process. For those of you unaware, north of the airport, there's a through-the-fence operation that's governed by a property owners association. Within that, it has 6 hangars. Each of those have a condominium association. We received a letter of inquiry from the FAA regarding all of that. Gary and I and others worked diligently assembling all of this 22-year-old file and finding the historical records to provide that to the FAA. It was a major undertaking, but we felt it was appropriate to get it correct this time, so finally we had all of the documents consolidated in one place. Mr. Parrish had me assemble all that, and my staff was great in setting that letter up, making it so they had links to go to each and every document, citing to the specific language, an abundant amount of time in Gary's thought process, and we winnowed this lengthy letter down to a very answer what we needed to correspondence. But it was sent out and has been taken care of. There's no pending litigation. A couple of updates relative to the general aviation building. We're still working, I think, trying to get all of the releases. There are still a number of subs or material men asking about that. An interesting question came up about a tax bill that we received. I'm working with the property Charlotte County, I guess, tax assessor associated with that, his counsel. And I'm pleased to advise you that we finished up the 417 vacation of the racetrack. While there were some bumps in the road, that went very amicable, and I had a lot of good working relationships with them as they completed the process. And I think we now have full custody and control of the racetrack. So a lot going on. Staff is great working with all those things. There are any number of smaller issues that go on, but those are just the highlights we're dealing with.
Yeah, and just follow up on that FAA inquiry. It's Part 13 inquiry, which if you don't successfully answer, becomes a Part 16. A Part 16 complaint, basically until it's adjudicated, you cannot get any grants. So it's important that we spend the time to answer the informal inquiry. We sent over 900 pages of documents to the FAA. So
we sent that FedEx 2-day express. It'll be delivered 4 days from now. 4 days late. It's under a tracking document, but we also sent it electronically and asked the FAA person if they needed anything else to please contact it. I've heard nothing, Gary. I don't know. So we've, and Tiffany, my assistant, is in direct communication with the FAA person about it. It was 2 huge volumes of documents we sent to them, so they're fully aware of what's going on.
And who reads all this? One person?
I'm hoping that they read some very small highlighted portions that I gave them. So just thinking this through, we had to go through the through the fence agreement that we have. It's a 22-year agreement. Make sure we found all the pages for that. Then we had to get the POA for the association that runs the whole place, and then the 6 condo hangars, and find in each of those the specific language that we wanted to refer to. We dealt with the attorney relative to the POA and got information on a letter from him. All of that assembled, highlighted in the letter, because remember, this is an informal inquiry. But we don't want it to lead to a big formal inquiry. We got input from our aviation council also. And then we highlighted each of the citations that we wanted, bolded them in the letter, and if you just simply move your cursor up to that language, it takes you directly to that document. Oh. I'm hoping the FAA spends all about 3 minutes on it and says, well, thank you very much, you answered our question, and moves on.
The complaint was an anonymous complaint that there was residential uses within through the fence. We don't, obviously it's anonymous. If it became Part 16, it would become public, but it was easy to say there are none because every single document says residential uses are not allowed. I don't know if there was someone living in their RV inside their hangar for a week after the hurricane, and that, we really don't know where it came from. But I think between our attorney, Gary, Mr. Kirsch, we more than answered the question. But of course, when the FAA asks you a question, it opens up the door for about 12 other questions. And that's what we had to spend our time. One of the questions was, why did we do a 50-year lease? Well, nobody on staff was here when we did it, and
you were hardly born when that lease was done.
Yeah. So it's been on the books for 23 years, and we answered as best we could, and we're hoping for a positive outcome.
One of the questions was, how did we achieve the lease value on the property 22 years ago? Right. And it's really not on the property itself, because that's privately owned. It was on the easement in which they have to taxi over to get to the runway. Right. Of course, none of that historical data is available today, but nonetheless, a thorough investigation of our files to see if we can find that was appropriate and necessary to tell them.
Wow, being busy. Ooh, thank you.
It was a major job, but really the task was to prevent it becoming a bigger matter. We wanted to be thorough, just as if it was the bigger matter already, because we don't want to become a formal investigation. Right. We wanted to make sure that under the preliminary investigation, we gave them every single document and all the information we could in a very organized fashion, so they didn't think that we were not compliant.
Good.
The important thing to remember is this could suspend any federal funds coming to the airport. That's why it's such an important thing. You know, these hangars aren't located on the airport, but they have a fence they can go through, and that's one of the issues.
Yeah, and it should be noted that the through-the-fence operation up there, I don't know how many hangars, there's 6 hangar buildings, but I don't know how many individual hangars there are, but there's a bunch. And each of those hangars is owned by a particular individual. None of those hangars necessarily like the hangars next door to them, the residents next door to them, much less the people in the hangar next door to them. And so it's somewhat of a hotbed of controversy inside of that little community up there.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but they're pilots that sit around and talk. One person doesn't like their plane doing whatever. And so it leads to a lot of controversy sometimes.
Is it, in each of those rows of hangars is a different POA, correct?
Condominium association, yes.
Yeah.
And then they all are under the POA that operates the particular property.
Right.
And each of them have control, don't have control over each other. So,
Right.
it's a problem. So the POA is probably the oversight, and then we're oversight to the POA. And the historical documents going back on that are numerous. I would note that the legal counsel for the POA is Mr. McKinley, and he's very cooperative in working with me and getting the information and providing me a letter that I wanted to substantiate a position of the POA. And so he was very cooperative in that, as always.
And they need to be cooperative because it could end up closing the gate here, it went south.
Yes, if if the through-the-fence operation was ever challenged or questioned, those hangars go from what I'd say the ability to access a runway to storage space.
Correct.
Wow.
It's very important for everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, for us, I mean, it's a major part of our operation in the sense of it's taking care of general aviation access and use of the airport. And I would note also, our understanding is the FAA does not like through-the-fence operations.
I know.
Especially post 9/11, I don't think you could get it through the fence operation,
No.
especially at a large commercial airport like this. So, our objective was for the people that are out there that are in general aviation, we wanted to make sure that we did all we could to preserve the integrity of it. We have no reason to believe it won't be preserved, but we certainly didn't want to be accused of not doing a thorough job in getting that completed in the information in the FAA. They now have 2 huge binders of documents and a very thorough letter in response.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank
We-
you for that.
Done?
You're welcome to go on, sir.
Did a good job.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Item 12, CEO's report, development update.
Try and move this quickly since we had our workshop.
It's only 21 pages.
Well, since we had our workshop, I don't know how detailed we want to get into this, but we are working on a passenger facility charge amendment, some north side infrastructure development that'll go along with some hangars that are being built adjacent to the Air Center ramp. The commercial terminal expansion, we'll be hearing from the top 3 today. We are working on and just sent our ALP update to the FAA for review, and then a helicopter sighting study we're working on. In design, the FBO hangar is kind of on hold right now until prices come down, and I think they're starting to fall a little. Self-serve at the Air Center ramp, we have some work going on that right now, and I think some additional contracts will be let today if the board approves them. Golf course to Challenger is in design. CTC, we started some preliminary work, and we have a contract today for the rest of the design. That'll go out to bid. Remember, that's being funded through a state grant. The perimeter road, we're working on construction of the 207 replacement hangars. We are working on the 10 current hangars, and then we'll start the 6 that will replace 207. That'll open up another 6 in the 10. And we have a contract today for the self-serve fuel facility in the 200 series on the north ramp. Airfield lighting, you have a contract to approve that. Inline baggage systems moving forward. We're expecting the 19th bids in on that. Maintenance and operations facility, we're moving forward. We'll have that out to bid. It's out right now, okay. And the new taxiway golf is moving forward. And then if you come in on Viking, you'll notice the cones are removed and the new turn lane is in, and the second lane into the airport is there. The stop is no longer a four-way stop. So be careful as you come in. We have new flashing signs and some information boards up. The 60 by 60s, as I said, are under construction. The 24 T hangars are under construction. If you go out to the Air Center, you can see both projects. They're looking really good. And the 9 box hangars behind the T hangars are starting to go in. I think, are they vertical yet, or? Not yet. Not yet. So they're all right. So they're close. Runway 422 rehabilitation, reconstruction, we're closing out, and Taxiway Delta is one of the most complex from the standpoint of movement around the airport projects that we've ever done. Today starts the tug in and tug out of aircraft. That'll last for a few weeks, and then they'll be back to somewhat normal operations. We are putting in a secondary temporary taxiway for air trek, so they won't be shut down for 21 days. But we're moving forward with all of that.
Who's doing the tug in, tug out?
Allegiant. Yeah.
Didn't want to prang any airplanes.
No, we don't move their airplanes. We don't want to move their airplanes. Marketing update, Ms. Miller?
Oh, can you hear me? Yes, okay. The marketing report summaries February, March, since we didn't have a meeting last week. We had a couple busy months. The State of the Airport presentation James did, we turned into kind of a booklet handout. I have one copy here and several other copies, but I'm not too happy with the printing, so I'm going to work on some nicer printing for y'all. And if you have any requests for copies, commissioners, please let me know. And I'll plan to send a copy to the City Council and the County Commissioners as well. We had great news coverage from NBC2 on the K9 Comfort Crew, the therapy dogs, as well as our inline baggage handling system. They did a great story on that. We had the commemorative Air Force come to the Air Center in early March, which was really cool. A lot of veterans and community members enjoyed that thoroughly. And we also had a great United Way employee campaign, Aviation Gives Back. And we raised $3,150 from our employees as well as some of our tenants that Commissioner Hansick brought to our barbecue fundraiser. And we had great participation on that as well. So if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will be taking a few more photos on that side of the room at the last part of the meeting, because we're launching a new website probably early May. And so we're working on developing all that behind the scenes stuff, updating photos, a new look and feel, hopefully more easy to use, and just updating the technology as it's been 5 years since we've had the current site structure. So if y'all have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that all the data that the airport commissioners receive is also available online if you really want to dig into this stuff. All the backup stuff that we use to help make a decision when motions are made, it's all out there in the public view. There's no secrets. And our attorney here keeps telling me I can't talk to other board members, so because of the sunshine. Regularly, yeah, he throws that in. Okay, moving on. Any? Lisa. Okay, Mr. Duncan, aviation report.
Good morning, yes. So March, extremely busy month at the airport. As you'll see, operations were extremely high. We had over 9,500 operations, and it was the busiest March, as you could see, in the last 5 years. And always leading the charge with operations. This last March, general aviation had about half of those operations. We don't have the passenger counts yet in for March. However, January and February were our two busiest. January and February is on record. We think March actually is going to be down a little bit from calendar year 2022, but not much. So as Mr. Parrish indicated, we're having a really good year. Fuel sales, Fuel sales, avgas out of the truck was high for March, one of our busiest sales on date, over 10,000 gallons out of the truck. Self-serve was about similar to where it was last year, over 11,000. Jet A gallons were down slightly, and what's showing to give me a reason why we think passenger counts is going to be down. Jet fuel for commercial pump was about 1.7 million, down from about 1.8 the previous year. So that's the report on operations for the airport. Any questions?
I think we'll hit 1 million employments.
Will we hit 1 million employments this year?
We will be awfully close.
Yeah, we'll be close. We'll be close. The airline's still suffering from pilot shortage, and it's everywhere throughout the country. It's not just Allegiant and Sun Country.
Yeah.
Did the COVID-19 also play a role in this?
Well, it did, but the industry has rebounded from the COVID. There was a lot of pent-up demand, so right now it's really pilot shortage and a little bit of cost of fuel.
Yeah. So
Is that over in our college yet?
we do, but no one wants to be a pilot anymore. It's not the glamorous job it once was. But they're working through it. One of the issues was the COVID. Airlines offered early retirement programs, and I can tell you Delta's was an amazing program. My father took it and left and is now living in Heritage Landing and not going to work every day because it was such a great offer, because the airlines didn't know how long this was going to last and how it was going to affect them. Now they're suffering from that. A lot of good pilots left, and there's not the military produces 1/10 the number of pilots it used to. Schools are producing pilots, but the 1,500-hour rule, which was put into place after the Colgan crash, means that it costs almost $300,000 to become a pilot. And even though it's a high-paying job, it takes a few years to start paying off that debt. And it's just a difficult time in the industry. We're seeing shortages in pilots. We're seeing shortages in mechanics. I think the mechanic one is easier to overcome, and we're doing what we can do with the CTC program.
That pilot shortage is so stark that my daughter's going through this process, so I keep up with it. Normally they require 1,500 hours, 1,000 hours of turbine time, meaning jet time, before you can go to an airline. One airline just reduced the amount of required turbine time down to 500 hours of turbine time. They still want 1,500 hours, but they'll now consider you for hiring at 500 hours of jet time. And it's still hard to get that many hours. That process is really difficult.
If I'm not mistaken, a couple airlines have started their own pilot training schools.
There are a number that have started their own. Frontier has gone into a co-op with a training school in Florida. Allegiant is looking at it. I'll be in Vegas next week talking to Allegiant, and I know that's one of the hot topics for them.
United has a huge program, and especially with outreach to what I'll call minorities, underprivileged people that don't have the economics that takes to become a pilot. I mean, you have to have big dollars if you want to become a pilot. It's tough.
Okay.
Or your uncles own a bunch of jets.
I would think some of these large
That helps.
airlines would help with that. If they need the pilots, why wouldn't they?
Well, one of the issues that we're facing is everybody knows there's a pilot shortage except the pilot unions. And they are fighting it, saying there's not a pilot shortage, there's just not enough pay to get more people into flying. And I think until the unions admit there's a problem, we're going to see this problem just get exacerbated.
There was legislation proposed to extend the pilot age from 65, I think, to 70, and it was killed mostly as a result of the Airline Transport Pilots Association being against it. And so all these pilots are still being forced out of the aviation, at least for commercial flights, at age 65. For example, and it's somewhat unique because I have a friend that flies a commercial 747 cargo plane all over the world. There's nobody on this plane but him and four other pilots, depending on their flight. At age 65, on the day he turns that, they pull his ticket. He can no longer fly that commercial cargo plane. It has just 4 other fully healthy pilots on it, but he's done. And it really makes no sense. I mean, I might understand it if you were 65 flying a full boat of passengers. Perhaps you need more backup or better health standards, but that's the rule. And ATP is the one that fought that change.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll get through it, but that is the reason you're seeing cancellations nationwide. And we've suffered from it a little here. And it's not just pilots, it's industry-wide. The FAA, if you recall, President Reagan fired them all. And so there were a lot of new air traffic controllers, and all of them are getting old. And so they're having a problem getting new people. And it's an interesting time to be in aviation.
Okay.
You know, you talked about the 65 rule. I remember when it was 60. Yeah, age 60. Time's up.
Yeah. Just pull your ticket and you're done.
You're done. You're retired.
Okay, let's move on. Rules and regulations, you got a draft. Are we
So-
going to require a motion on these?
No, it's just a draft. It'll be on the next board agenda as an item. I just wanted to
Explain it now.
explain that we put together our minimum standards, referenced rules and regulations a lot, and when Mr. Duncan and Chad got on board and Ray started looking at our rules and regulations, we found it was a 1997 document that was 2002, so it was really newer. It was about a page and a half, so it was not adequate. So we have researched some other airports that are our size, kind of our configuration, adopted some of their things, massaged them to meet us. But so I wanted to point it out that this is in your package. I would really like everybody to read it, distribute it if you have friends that are excited about rules and regulations. Highlight any questions so we can answer them before the next meeting, and we'll present this as a document for the board to approve.
Okay, moving on.
I would like to, because Beth walked in late, Beth Kreitz, back in the back, she's our new HR manager. She came on board a few weeks ago, has been an amazing addition to staff, and is going through everything. And thank you, and welcome to the airport.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you.
Any old business?
None that I have.
Let's see, none. New business.
So the first 2 items are leases. Motor Bros, we didn't know if we'd have it all completed. We did get it completed and signed before the meeting, but NEBO has 2 buildings, the APG has 2 buildings on the airport that both their leases were up. We're extending one for 3 years, one for 5 years, and they are looking at building on the north side during that period. So, need a motion.
Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve the NEBO Aviation Services and APG Rotatables LLC leases as presented.
Second.
The chair has a motion to approve the NEBO Aviation and APG contracts, lease contracts. Any further discussion?
Chairman, if I may, James, one lease goes out to 2026, the other one goes out to 2028. Why? I know 2028 is all over the place, so it's got to be intentional.
So one is a 5-year because of its location. We could extend it longer. The other one's only 3 because
it's in the way.
Yeah, it's in the way of expansion.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
The other one is Motor Bros. As you'll recall, we went out to proposals on the land that was formerly 427 Speedway or 417 Speedway. We got 3 proposals. The board chose the #1 ranked proposer, which was Smugglers. They backed out due to some reasons that we're really not completely sure of. But so we moved on to the second, Motor Bros. We have negotiated a lease with them. It's a, we've sent it off to the FAA for final approval, but I'd like to get the board's approval to execute that once we get FAA approval. It's a longer-term lease at fair market value for 31.47 acres.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion for the board to authorize the CEO to execute the lease agreement with Moto Bros. LLC upon FAA approval.
Second.
Chair has a motion and a second to approve the lease with Moto Brothers for about 31 acres of real estate, subject to FAA approval. All in favor?
Mr. Chair, quick question.
Discussion.
James, under rent adjustments, we reference the CPIU, which is the urban, but down here in the equation, we have in the equation just CPI, which I know is a different index than the CPIU. Maybe we want to possibly adjust that?
I will...
Subject to correction.
Subject to the CPI.
Okay, we'll make that one adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
We have a motion to approve land lease agreement with Moto Brothers for about 31 acres of ground, subject to FAA approval, and a minor correction to the rate increase method. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next two items are PTGAs, which used to be JPAs. They are FDOT grants paid for out of the Aviation Trust Fund. We have one for the Maintenance and Operations Center, which is going into bidding now, and the second one is for the Taxiway Gulf project, which is also moving forward with design and bidding. So we need two motions to approve the PTGA and to approve the resolution 2023-01 and 2023-02.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion for the first one related to our Maintenance and Operations Center project resolution. We got a number on that one.
2023-01.
01.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve and accept the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement in the amount of $500,000 and adopt Resolution 23-01 and execute the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement.
Second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023-01 and accept the associated grant with it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The second one?
Second one is the similar PTGA for Taxiway Gulf.
Chair will entertain a motion for Resolution 2023-02 concerning acceptance of a public transportation grant from the FAA.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board accept the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement in the amount of $350,000, adopt Resolution 2023-02, and execute the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement.
Okay, the chair has a motion. Looking for a second.
Second the motion.
A motion is second to approve Resolution 2023-02 and the associated grant related to our new Taxiway G project. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next project is the Air Center self-serve fuel facility. As you recall, this has been back and forth a few times. We our electrical cost came in more than the entire self-serve facility was going to cost. We have worked that, we've gotten that down significantly. We now have a contract, a GMP with Half Acre Construction under our design build selection for $238,690.58. This will get the project finished and the tanks moved over to the Air Center.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the work order with Half Acre in an amount of $238,690 for relocation of our self-fueling facility.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize staff to contract with Half Acre Construction in the amount of $238,690.58 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to authorize staff to contract with Half Acre Construction for relocation of the self-service fueling facility amount of $238,609.58. Any discussion?
58 cents,
58 cents. Yeah, that was a rounding error.
rounding it off.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
The next project is putting a second self-fueling facility at the 200 series hangars. It'll be off the northeast corner of the north ramp, 2,000-gallon tank. This is, project to get the electric, the pad, the bollards, everything in place. Again, this is with Half Acre Construction, the amount of $226,560.68.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to have the staff enter into agreement with Half Acre Construction for the new self-fueling facility to be located in the new GA area. Apparently, we're not getting buy one, get one free.
Unfortunately, not.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize staff to contract with Half Acre Construction in the amount of $226,560.68 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize staff to enter into agreement with Half Acre for the new self-fueling facility amount of $226,560.68 located in the new General Aviation Complex. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries.
The next item is a contract with CNS Engineering for the design of the CTC Aviation Technical Facility on the Air Center ramp. Total fee for engineering services is $650,872. We did
Jim, you said 650,000?
$650,872 for design of the hangar and site.
Mine shows 550,000.
So we did, if you'll recall, we gave them $100,000 to start work last month so we could, while we negotiated. So the board today is going to approve $550,872. This is paid for 100% through the EDO grant that we got for the construction and design of the facility. Keep in mind that that facility is not going to cost $3 million, and we're working with the school board on that.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the contract with CNS Engineers, Inc. in the amount of, James? $550,872 as presented.
Second.
The chair has a motion to approve a design contract basically with CNS Engineering, the amount of $550,872. Any discussion? I do have a comment and a question. It should be noted that during the rating of the various firms. Mr. Hurston was part of that group, and so I looked at it. It looks pretty good. Were the numbers close between all of these?
Very close.
Very close. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
A few years ago, the FAA decided that you could not bid an airfield lighting control system in the same time as another project, so we tried. We did not get it approved. So this came out of the runway 422 project and was bid separately, although the funding is under AIP 43, which is the 422 project. There are not a lot of companies doing this, and we had one bidder that gave us two options, Kraus-Heinz and ADB. We have requested that the FAA allow us to go with the ADB system, even though it is more expensive. It is the system we currently have. Staff is trained on it, and it would be more seamlessly integrated into what we currently use. We're expecting 100% funding through the FAA under the 422 grant, so we'd like to have the board approve me executing a contract with American Infrastructure Services for the installation of the ADB solution for $629,763.75.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the board to authorize the CEO to execute a contract with American Infrastructure Services for the installation of Option B, ADB solution in the amount of $629,763.75 as presented.
I second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the chair has a motion and a second to approve a airfield lighting control and monitoring system contract with American Infrastructure Services in the amount of $629,763.75. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I will point out that the previous system was installed after Hurricane Charlie.
Yeah.
It is no longer, it works, but we can't get parts for it. We bought a part off of eBay to fix it a few months ago, so it's time. If anyone drove by after 422 was put back in service and noticed it was very bright, it stayed that way for almost a month until that part was found and installed.
Is there any value to the old?
No, except for selling parts on eBay. That's going to be Ray's other job. Now that he has a master's degree, he can work eBay.
He'll get more money, maybe.
The next item is the terminal expansion design build.
Yeah, you might give a little history of where we are. And
so the terminal, as it currently exists under the master plan, should have lasted us till 2036. We hit the 2036 numbers last year. We expect to exceed those numbers this year. And with the opening of Sunseeker and with the expansion of ultra-low-cost carriers, we're expecting to continue, I don't think on the trajectory we have been, but a positive trajectory for the next few years. So we have been fortunate to get some grants in place. Our PFC is going through the process, but one of the things we have to do is get a design build team on board to get plans and specs so that we can get in line for some of the infrastructure money that was set aside for terminals. So this is that project or selection to get a design builder that will design it and construct it. Hopefully we'll be under construction in 2024, 2025 and finished, although some of them say in 2025. You know, we're going to be in another one of those situations like we were when we had 16,000 square feet and 45,000 passengers. We're going to be now in, you know, a slightly larger building with 1 million passengers. So it's time to start looking at it. And we had 5 respondents. We have 3 coming today to give 10-minute presentations. I'd like to go home sometime today. And the board will select from there, and in no particular order, AECom and DeAngelis Diamond. Wow, that's half the room.
James, do you have a rough estimate? You got a guesstimate on what we're looking at? 20, 30 million?
44.
44 million for this project. So I wanted the board to be aware of who we're going to be working with, because it's a pretty big project. It's going to take a while. But in the airport business, 44 million is not a lot of money anymore.
No, not with the way prices are going up.
Yeah.
But one of these 3 are going to keep the cost way down.
Okay. Identify yourself and let's go.
Sure. Very good. Well, thank you first and foremost. Thank you so much for this opportunity to partner with you again. It has been our privilege to partner with Punta Gorda Airport in the past, mainly on the Bailey Terminal expansion. It will be an honor to partner with you again. One of the unique benefits that we bring to the table is we truly are the only local construction company headquartered here in Southwest Florida. This is our home. This is where our team members live. We will look out for the interest of this airport, and we will work harder than anyone else. We have the horsepower, we have the experience, and we have the expertise to successfully deliver this project, and it would be our honor to build with you again. My name is Scott Beck. I serve as Vice President for DeAngelis Diamond, and my role is pretty simple. It's to support this team and make sure this team has the resources they need to exceed your expectations.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you. My name is Steve Panzarino. I'm an architect with AECom. I'm the managing principal of our Tampa office. I will work closely with John DeAngelis, who unfortunately could not be here today due to an unfortunate stomach bug that incapacitated him. But I'll be working with him very closely to support the team and make sure that the project is successful and meets all of your expectations.
I'm Glenn Gilbreth with AECom. I designed airports for 30 years, and I live right here in Punta Gorda. And it would be great to work in my own backyard.
I'm Miguel Sanchez. I'm the project manager and architect. I have been actually currently working at this airport for 3 years now with Ray and Corey and a few other airport staff in regards to the baggage expansion project that is actually current for mid. So I'll be excited to continue working at this airport for the whole group expansion.
Josh Beverly, Senior Project Manager for DeAngelis Diamond. I was born in Port Charlotte, raised locally. Have some aviation experience under my belt, and looking forward to this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Good morning, I'm Melissa McBride with DeAngelis Diamond. I'll be the pre-construction manager for your project. What I bring to you is 20 years experience here in the Southwest Florida market. Most recently, I was the pre-con lead for the SRQ terminal expansion project, delivering multiple GMPs there.
And I am Brooke Tyner, project manager with DeAngelis Diamond. I've been a local for about 8 years now, living and working in this community, on similar projects, kind of like your own and active facilities.
Next slide, please. So I want to touch on quickly our experience. We have a vast array of aviation experience between our two firms, but the ones we're most proud of are the ones that we've done together here on your campus, starting with the Bailey Terminal expansion 7 or 8 years ago. It was a very successful project, on budget, on schedule, and a great project for our team. But we're also working together at other regional airports like SRQ, RSW, Page, and many others. We would love to bring that experience here again to Punta Gorda.
Next slide. After reviewing our few works together here, I want to focus on the future of PGD here, and that is the terminal expansion that is in need based on the passenger increase. After having the knowledge and experience in working on the terminal planning study and also the inline baggage project that is out for bid right now, we've been able to implement some revisions on that baggage expansion for the future hold room as well. So I want to start off with some of these phasing and program space diagrams that we have on the screen here. The very first one, we would start with the aircraft movement, of relocating those to the east to be able to provide site work of the drainage, striping, and what other apron work needs to be completed first before we start the build of the new hold room space, which is just on the north end of the terminal, as you can tell there on the screen. This allows us to open up real estate in the existing hold rooms to be able to construct a MEP room there, which will be able to support the new hold room expansion along the north and also give you guys flexibility to tie in on the south end when we do the south end expansion of the hold rooms. So it just opens up your flexibility of your schedule of when we can do that. But all the provisions will be done first in the MEP's hold room from the existing hold rooms. Also, we're not taking away, we do have, from our baggage inline project, we have additional hold room as well on the south end in the existing terminal, so we'll be able to hold passengers there as well while we dedicate the existing hold room as a future checkpoint location. This allows us to be able to preserve the entire existing checkpoint lanes without interrupting any passenger movement and experience through the terminal, and also this will save time and money in regards to reducing the amount of micro phasings from switching both checkpoints, or if it's overlapping. So ours, by moving it to the east, we can construct that independently without any interference with passenger movement experience. And again, Josh, can go ahead and chime in on that.
Thanks, Will. We know that we're at your house. We're experienced being in other people's houses during construction. We know things like covered walkways and all that stuff. It's second nature to us as a company, both AECOM and DD. Our commitment to you is first to listen, understand what you need and what you want, and then incorporate that into the design and construction. The last point I want to make is you can rest assured that every step we take will be hand in hand with you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So our approach when we talk about design and pre-construction integration, because we are an integrated team, it's pretty simple. It's very collaborative. We want all of the stakeholders, all of the operational team members at the table as we're setting this project up for success. It's very transparent. Transparency builds trust. You have to trust us in this process, so we want to make sure that we are open book with everything we do. And then lastly, I would say it's proven. That's the beauty of our team, is we have a proven track record working together at other regional airports. Highlighted on the screen is a case study of the SRQ terminal expansion project. We recently, Melissa and her team did a great job getting that GMP approved about 6 to 8 weeks ago. But as a part of that process, one of the things I wanted to highlight is the decision we made on the structure type. A very important decision. We studied multiple different structure types, from precast to steel to combinations of the two, and ultimately where we landed was a steel structure was the right fit for that project, both from a cost, from availability of materials, from a timing standpoint. But there was we know that as we are engaging with our clients, you need options. And we're accustomed to doing pricing options. That's just part of how we operate. So lastly, once we've set that number, we have to drive the number. I think one of the benefits that our team brings to the table is our ability to leverage our market share and our relationships in this market to make sure we get the best pricing and the right people looking at this project. There's no better example than that for us than what we just did at SRQ. We received over 200 subcontractor bids for that project. Wow. Over 84% of the direct cost of that job had 3 or more bids. So we knew we had great participation, and it would have been higher had some of the packages not been sole source packages that were like very custom items, things of that nature, controls. So we're very proud of those efforts, and we would love to bring that expertise back to Punta Gorda Airport. Last slide.
Okay, last slide. So you've heard from our team. You can tell that we have a passion for these types of projects. As designers, as constructors, we really thrive on very complicated, multi-phase, difficult projects that require a lot of thought to solve. We have done that together, so we have the team that has actually done this before. We understand intimately your airport. We know all the nuances that go into how we phase the project, how we construct it, and all of those requirements. We're here to make sure that this project is a success for you. We're very excited to work with you. We want to continue working with you, and we would really love the opportunity to continue doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a couple. The firms together, I'm assuming you have the capacity, in-house capacity to take this project on?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You've provided a somewhat of a visual layout of what you might consider in the design. What would you, I know we don't know the forecast from Allegiant or who else may show up here. What would you estimate the life of the expanded facility as you might envision?
Who's best to take this?
That's a good question. Let's see.
That's a tough question to answer, I got to say. I mean, obviously, the growth that we're experiencing in this part of the state is phenomenal. It's going to continue. We know what's happening at Sunseeker. We know what's happening in the residential market. So this is an expansion that will come online hopefully by 2025 and make sure that it lasts. I'm going to say it's probably in the 20-year life cycle.
That's a long time.
Hopefully.
The reason I asked the question, at some point in time, we're going to run out of real estate.
Correct.
And we're going to have to be looking at something else, probably beyond my tenure here, but we need to be thinking about it, and that might be part of the, whoever we hire has to look at and say, you got a 20-year life, you better be looking at dedicating some real estate somewhere else with access and all that. It just makes prudent planning. Obviously, I've been down this road before somewhere else,
yeah.
but okay, I appreciate the answers.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Yeah.
if I may.
Hold on, Mr. Hurston.
If I may, we work with a lot of different firms here, but I would like to point out on this team, if we end up with Josh Beverly on the team, I've worked with him before in the field, and I've seen him straighten out a couple projects that were kind of a mess and not going real smooth.
Were these your projects?
They were. But I don't control construction. I only inspect it. But I just want to say Josh Beverly, I've personally worked with him a couple times, and he did an excellent job. But I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And you're the gentleman from our local area?
Yes, I was born here in Port Charlotte.
And went to school here?
I went to school in Sarasota. We moved to Sarasota when I was 2.
So you know the area well?
Absolutely. I actually have family in Port Charlotte as well.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other?
Thank you.
Okay, dismissed. Thank you. All right. We have Half Acre and HOK. Next. Technical problem.
It's OAK. It's like Owens, Ames, and Kimball. Owens, Ames, and Kimball.
Make sure you turn it back on.
Come on up, guys.
I heard half acre.
Yeah.
Thank you. We won't start your 10 minutes till you're all up here.
That is.
Same rule.
Good morning, everyone.
Introduce yourselves and
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us here to speak to you today about your terminal expansion. My name's Craig Bryant. I'm with Manhattan Construction. My cohort here, Mark Kistler, with Michael Baker Architects. Mark and I met about this project about a year ago and quickly realized how well aligned we are to do this project. Both of our firms have been in aviation since aviation has existed over 80 years. We've done dozens and dozens of terminal expansions, more uniquely airside terminal expansions. That's a different animal when you're dealing with 747s out on the airfield versus inside the confines of a landside project. Different set of parameters, considerations, safety is of the utmost. And we've done that work. We've done it at DFW, we've done it at Atlanta, we're doing it right now at RSW, we've done it at St. Pete, Fort Lauderdale. Literally dozens of projects, both together and separately, that come with their own unique set of challenges that we're prepared to solve for. Mark?
Thanks, Craig. And on behalf of Michael Baker, you've gotten to know us as one of your general consultants, also as your architect of record for the Air Center Terminal project, as well as the maintenance and operations unit that's out for bid now. And along with Chip Hayward, our lead architect, we've been able to do these different terminal projects. We bring a portfolio of over 150 terminal projects, many at airports that have similar passenger numbers that you do, but also in where Allegiant Airline is the primary airline serving you as well. This also includes the project we did at St. Pete Clearwater is one that's very identical to this, where you expanded the hold room, expanded the restroom, security checkpoint, and provide additional concession space.
Next slide. So it's through that lens that we came up with some key considerations for your project. First and foremost is the passenger experience. This is an airport first, and we want to maintain that. So some of the things that we would propose to do would be to do passenger traffic simulations through our logistics plan, and that would visually demonstrate passenger queuing, passenger flow, passenger traffic with deboarding and onboarding of aircraft. It's a powerful tool. We've used it before. It allows us to see and make minor tweaks to corridor widths or queuing spaces or the number of checkpoints necessary during peak times. So that would be something that we would certainly do for you here at PGD. Secondly is speed to market. We understand that this is a now need, so we want to do everything in our power to bring it to you quickly. Some of the things that are involved in that are phased permitting. Jack McStravick and I go back about a decade. We know each other very well over at the building department. We've discussed this project and how we can bring speed to market through the permitting and review process. Another piece of that is procurement. In these times with COVID, we need to procure early. We need to get material on the ground before we even start. And along with that is prefabrication to the extent possible. If we can fabricate items off the airfield, less manpower, less materials out there on the airfield, the faster this project will go, the safer it will be, and the cleaner it will be. And then finally is best value. Having done dozens and dozens of terminal expansions, we have good cost history. We haven't done 1, 2, or 3 terminal expansions. We have historical costs that goes back 50 years that can be escalated to today's dollars. And when we're selecting systems for this project, we know what it's going to cost before we go out to bid. So that cost certainty when you're going for that grant is paramount. Also, targeting both the local market and the national market. We do these kind of projects nationally and locally. I know firsthand at RSW, we brought in some national folks and we leveraged that against the local submarket. Sometimes these subs locally get comfortable with the pricing here, and we're going to bring in national subs to compete and keep everybody honest. So, with those key considerations, we put together a phasing plan that creates both a positive passenger experience, a safe experience, promotes throughput through the airport, and allows us to expedite the terminal expansion. You'll see at the top of the page the 2 yellow highlighted areas. Those are passenger boarding corridors that are prefabricated off-site out of shipping containers. And those are quickly implemented, attached together, they're waterproof, They can be finished with flooring, drywall, lighting, HVAC. So it's literally an extension of the airport. And that allows passengers to pass through the construction zone safely and then out onto the airfield to board the planes. We will turn over as quickly as possible, as many hold rooms as we can in phases. I've already discussed that with the building department, and they are on board, provided life safety is in place. So within the first 2 months, we're committed to providing the first 3 hold rooms, expanding your seating area, which is critical. I use this airport, so I know how crowded it can be. So we want to turn over as quickly as possible. Moving to the next slide. This is our final phase. You'll see all but 4 gates are open within 16 months. The last 6 to 8 months of this project is the enabling phases. That would be concessions within the main terminal. It would be a partial turnover of checkpoints, giving you the same amount of checkpoints you have now, but a significantly greater amount of hold space so that everybody's not squished up against the wall as they are now. And we've reconfigured the egress into the exit there. Mark, do you want to touch on that just for a second?
Yeah, one of the points in the access here is as you go through and deal with the going by, as we're implementing the new security checkpoint and expanding that, as we're moving things around, we'll be having a different corridor as you come back out around. One of the things that, as we look at this additional space, is also looking at, as you have more space for people to sit, is also looking at how to provide additional concession opportunities there. One of the keys for us is we're looking at this is also implementing an enhanced concessions program and working with your staff to identify locations and the needs and make sure that the needs of the concessionaires are met, whether you're looking at utilities and storage space. This provides increased revenue opportunities for you, and that's one of the goals we know is of the project is to provide those different opportunities that are there.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Next slide, please. So in closing, why the Manhattan Michael Baker team? Experience, first and foremost. We've done more active terminal work than anyone presenting today. Literally dozens of airside projects. I can't stress enough how important that is to hire a team with airside terminal expansion experience. It is a completely different animal. Putting an airport first, secondly, but first and foremost, passengers come first, maintaining that passenger experience, making sure folks flow through this airport properly, and it's a construction project second. Thirdly, speed to market, being creative with our ideas on how to build this project, working with staff, talking about things like prefabrication, phased permitting strategies with Charlotte County, and then best value, understanding what an air terminal costs. If you're using historical from 2, 3, or 4 projects, it could be skewed by some unique qualities of that particular airport. When you have historical with dozens of airports, it's blended, it's more accurate, and more predictable when we're selecting materials and overall cost for the project to ensure that we hit your budget. Thank you. Ahead of time, by the way.
And from a standpoint of boots on the ground, I'm Nabil Alawaz, the senior project manager. I am those boots on the ground from the project management side. Mark Smith,
senior superintendent of Manhattan, worked for 25 years.
Yeah, we both are 20-plus year Manhattan employees. Both live down here in Florida. So this is our home. This is our home. This is your home. We work together. The reason we didn't go through a lot of the presentation, the people that came up here, the people that are running the facility, that's who we'll start integrating with. That's who we'll build the project with. Understand where the needs are, make sure that we're working together in addressing how we keep the airport in operation. And that's what we're doing now. Mark and I are doing this together, airside, making sure every day passengers are getting through our areas safely, securely, making sure we're meeting TSA requirements, doing that every day, making sure those airplanes are getting up in the air and people are coming back safely to their families and our families too.
Questions from commissioners? I've got one. Have you guys partnered up before?
Yes, we've worked together on
Okay.
multiple projects, yes.
Operator problem. I didn't have my mic on. The question I asked was, have you guys partnered up before?
We have, yes.
Once,
We
twice?
we worked together at St. Pete, and there was one other one, Mark?
Greensboro, I think.
Greensboro?
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, here none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, again, thank you for having us.
Okay, same rule. Introduce yourselves and.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board member, Mr. Parrish. Thank you very much for allowing us to come in here and present our qualification, the company, and our approach. My name is Sam Slyman. I'm the Suffolk National Aviation Leader for Suffolk Construction. Why Suffolk and Atkins? First of all, we bring an airport terminal building experience second to none. We've done over $10.5 billion in the past 10 years in aviation building and terminals, 5.5 million square feet of terminal experience. We bring you a team that has done work at RSW, Palm Beach International, Tampa, Dallas-Fort Worth, Bradley Airport, Boston Logan, San Francisco, and many, many other airports, as you can see on the slides. We bring an experience and a local team. First of all, we're national aviation experience, but we also are the biggest contractor in Southwest Florida. We're the #1 contractor, and everybody we bring to this team is aviation experience. Myself, I was 27 years Director of Capital Program for Boston Logan International Airport. I bring a unique experience from the owner perspective to make sure that the team is providing exactly what the owner wants and making sure that the project put passenger first and the airport first. We know that Allegiant Airline is your largest carrier and your client. They are also our client. We're doing their Sunseeker projects. Suffolk Construction is doing their Sunseeker projects, and they are our repeated client. We're also, like I said, we've been 20 years in Southwest Florida. We're not just yesterday opened the office. We've done a lot of work. We're the biggest contractor, and we're invested in the local community. We have partnered with FPC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's the largest CM company in Charlotte County. And this partnership, it doesn't start here. It started with the Sunseeker project. 6 years ago, we partnered with FPC. We've been working with them for 6 years. And what that means, it means that it brings to you the strongest trade partner relationship that we have in Southwest Florida and specifically in Charlotte County. Those relationships will make sure that we'll get the best bid, the best people, and the best trade for your project. Next slide.
Good morning. My name is Darren Larson. I'm with Atkins, and I'm the design manager for this project. I'm a resident of Southwest Florida. In fact, I've been a member of this community for nearly 20 years. I'm also an instrument-rated pilot, so aviation and airports are my passion, and I love what I do. My team has a tremendous amount of experience designing terminal projects just like this, and what really makes us unique is our approach. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you're working with an architect, they'll start out with a great concept for the design, show a lot of really nice pictures to the stakeholders. Pretty soon everybody falls in love with it until they find out what the budget is. And usually you double your budget or something that nobody can afford. And so our approach, we work closely with you and understand the functional needs of the project. We come up with a design that's efficient and maintain an eye towards the future, because we know this facility will continue to need to expand into the future. And all the while, we're checking in to make sure that the design fully meets your budget requirements. We understand how to design your checkpoint in a way that maintains smooth operations through the project. We understand how to right-size your concessions program to make sure that you maximize the revenue from that and the opportunity in the new terminal. And we're going to make sure that, and you can see from this design concept that we prepared, it looks like it belongs here in Charlotte County. And it's going to provide a great passenger experience. And we also understand that passenger experience doesn't stop at your front door after they pick up the bags. A lot of these passengers are going to go on to the new Sunseeker Resort. So we want to work with you on things like providing a great ground transportation program for those passengers to get from the airport to the resort. And I just want to close again with our commitment to you, which is to make sure that we provide you with a functional and efficient design that will definitely be within your budget and ahead of your schedule.
Thanks, Darren. Rod Nobrega, Project Executive with Suffolk in Southwest Florida. I would be your primary point of contact if we were awarded this job. I want to talk to you about our project approach, and our goal was to create a phasing and execution plan that minimizes disruption, creates efficient workflow, and minimizes temporary work. What does all that mean for you? I mean, we started with the baseline phase plan you provided, which is a very good plan. We broke it down into smaller sections and worked on overlapping those phases to create efficiency to the project within the construction workflow to help with cost, but at no impact to hospital operation or airport operations or the passenger experience. So a few slides from our overall phasing plan. And number 2 in the top right, you can see we're going to start out in the air side, moving the aircraft towards the taxiway delta. Next, we want to set up the covered passenger walkways immediately. So those would be the consistent travel from the operational hold rooms to the aircraft throughout the phases of construction. Moving into slide 2A, as we start the terminal construction from north to south, we've strategically broken it into 2 phases and TCOs with the idea of we TCO the first phase of hold rooms. That opens up space for the airport while we're constructing the remainder on the south end of the project. We're already starting the new security screening checkpoints and then followed up with some of the back house renovations. So big picture, what this means for you at the end of the day, compressing the schedule, improving costs, getting workflow from the trades, and it results in an overall schedule reduction of 4 to 6 months.
Thank you. As you can see, we're giving you a fresh perspective on this project. We are not building 3 hold rooms first, opening them up and starting another 3 hold rooms. The construction is continuous, so all our trade flow can be continuous. We're not going to have demob and mob several times. That means we can stay within your budget. So that's what our fresh out of the box design and construction approach. The other thing that's very important to us is to make sure that we're giving you a facility that is operational. Coming from the airport, I opened so many terminals at Logan International Airport and now at other airports. It's very important to make sure that we coordinate with the stakeholders, the airport, the TSA. How do you set up the equipment? How do you calibrate the equipment, the acceptance? We've done that many, many times, and that is very essential to keep the project moving forward. Full testing of all the individual equipment and as an integrated system. That's very important to make sure that you guys get a facility that flawless day one of operation. Training of all your operational and maintenance personnel. We know this is 24/7 airport. We want to make sure that we are doing the training on all the shifts. And finally, we have a warranty department right here in Southwest Florida, that post-operational response. We will walk through with your maintenance personnel and your operational personnel 30 days after the opening of the facility, 6 months, 11 months, to make sure that your facility is operational at its maximum efficiency, and we'll take care of everything that will come up. Finally, safety is very important for us. Safety of your passenger, facility, personnel, and our workers will be our #1 priority throughout the project.
Good morning. My name is Josh Christensen. I'm the Southwest Florida General Manager for Suffolk. I want to talk about some of the intangibles here. We talked a lot about our technical capabilities and why we're the right partner for you guys on this project. So I was born and raised here. I was born in St. Joe's Hospital. It used to be called St. Joseph's Hospital.
Yeah.
Graduated Charlotte High School in 1991. My mother was a teacher at East Elementary for 40 years. Still lives in the same house that I grew up in. I'm very proud of all that. Very proud of all that. And why does it matter? It matters because we're personally invested in the project. Our peers, our colleagues, our friends are flying in and out of this airport every day. You know, we won't let it be anything but the best experience it can possibly be for this airport, the community. I was coming to the air show here before I could even walk. So it means a lot to me. We're personally invested in it. And our partner Rob Humpel's right here with us. He's also local and equally as invested.
Let me lay something out that's a little more tangible. Suffolk, a world-class contractor, national firm with a 20-year history in Southwest Florida, partnered with a local GC, Board of Premier Contractors, at the beginning of the Suffolk project, or the Sunseeker project. For 5.5 years, we've been working on that project, not just as partners, but as a mentor. Suffolk has been a mentor to FPC. They've allowed us to grow our business, expand our operational capabilities, and that project has gone so well with that team that we want to continue that same success on your airport property and be involved in this terminal expansion and deliver another successful project in Charlotte County. Thank you.
As I said, we'll close our presentation and ask for your consideration to be your partner on this project.
Questions from
The best in time management, I
On schedule. We wasted 4 seconds.
You guys, has Suffolk and Atkins partnered before?
Suffolk and Atkins has not worked before. Me and Darren have worked together on a mini project at Logan.
Is there a question maybe for James, relates to all the designs? We got enough room to push those airplanes back to the taxiway to get in there?
Yeah, so if you recall, part of the master plan is to
Yeah,
relocate
doing
that.
that.
And that'll
Yeah.
be part of the Taxiway Alpha Charlie project that will be starting next year.
Okay, anybody else got any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If I could, we had 5 very strong proposals. Any
Yeah.
one of those 5
Wow.
could have done the project. Unfortunately, we have to pick one. The 3 that presented today were all separated by tenths of points. So, I mean, staff is confident that however the board goes, that we can work with the teams and get this built. Now we got to get it funded, and that's my job. We're working on that as we speak. So.
Okay. I'd like to say on my behalf, and I assume on my fellow commissioners' behalf, I want to thank all 3 of you that came to give us a presentation. I know how expensive these things are for each of you and the investment that you've made in your proposals, and we as a board surely appreciate that. And now we have a difficult decision. So, who wants to start off?
Mr. Chair, if I might just ask Mr. Parrish, is there like a rubric that we have?
There was for the grading, and unfortunately, well, fortunately for us, all 5 were just excellent.
Excellent, yes.
But we had to rank them, and so when we broke it down, the top necessary to rank them, they are all top ranked firms. So
well,
staff doesn't want to make this decision.
I figured that. Somewhat of a procedural matter. I would suggest that we rank 1, 2, and 3 if you'd like. And then the object is to give staff to get together with the number 1 and see if they could come to a agreement for the work. And if they're too expensive, you go to number 2.
That's our goal, is to get a ranking of the top 3, and we'll start negotiating with number 1.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't do it. We're leaving it to the esteemed elected community.
I know.
Mr. Chair, would it be best if each commissioner would rank 1, 2, 3 and turn those documents in to you for tallying?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't know. Mr. Carr, what do you think?
Do you have any legal advice? We don't want it.
I don't know, under the sunshine law, you can be passing notes to each other, so I don't know that I would do that.
Well, we can, can't we do it? We're in an official.
No,
We do it at the MPO, when we vote for our committees.
Do we want to just go around and rank them verbally and then?
Where do we fit in this? I mean, we're in a legally called meeting. We can discuss this among each other.
Mr. Hurston handed you a note in the middle of the meeting, I would be discussing that with Mr. Hurston. He's saying is that you can't just like.
Well, couldn't he call?
He can verbally do it.
We can verbally do it.
We can do it verbally do it, yes?
I thought that what you were suggesting is like what we do when we rank, like we send in our rankings to staff separately and then we vote on it at a meeting. Like not to each other, like we did for the lobbyists.
I mean, I would not want to push this off to a second meeting.
Yeah, I understand why.
We have some very
We got some timing things.
timing issues that the FAA has
and
put on
public,
us.
we got the passenger facility charge issues, and these, I understand all that.
So, I mean, I
Mr. Chair, the issue I have is trying to rank is staff who studied all this for quite a while. We're just tenths of a point. It's hard to rank.
You mean you didn't read all of these?
Well, particularly without pricing. I mean, that is what it, and I get it.
With design build, you start and negotiate. I will tell you that pricing from all three firms is going to be pretty close and dependent on us to maintain the design in a fashion that meets the Punta Gorda style, which is 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack.
And I guess technically or historically, pricing doesn't get involved in your selection process, and it shouldn't. You want to go for your best team.
Not in a design build.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Well, and all three have worked with locally. We're familiar with all three. They all, I mean, this is so hard.
Jim, I thought I picked up that DeAngelis Diamond did the original Bailey Terminal. Is that correct?
They did the expansion of the Bailey Terminal. Half Acre Construction built the original Bailey Terminal as a design build project in 2006, 2007. DeAngelis Diamond was the contractor for the expansion. AECom was the construction manager for the expansion. If you recall, R.W. Armstrong at the time designed it. Then they disappeared, and we brought AECom in to finish it up.
And Michael Baker did the Punta Gorda Air Center.
Michael Baker did the Air Center. They are the architect and engineer of record for the M&O facility, which is out to bid. AECom did the baggage handling system. So we have extensive experience with all three of them. FPC is one of our design build firms. And it's been very difficult talking because we can't talk about this, but we had a lot of other things to talk about. So I in my opinion, I don't think we could go wrong with any of the firms, any of the five, but the top three definitely. Just great quality, and I think it speaks to us as our expanding that these quality firms want to work with us. So. I don't envy the board.
Yeah, I might just make a general comment. It swings both ways. Two of the three have partnered before, and we have one that has not partnered in the past. However, a new partnership might be interesting on what you might be able to do with a new partnership. I mean, we're going to have to take them to grow a little bit. But obviously, their experience with Sunseeker, I don't know if that plays a part in it. I guess if I had to make the decision independently of anybody, including the staff, I'd rank them just as they're listed on your yellow sheet.
Say again?
I would rank them just as they are on your yellow sheet.
That was
1, 2, and 3.
Kind of the way I was looking at it myself, to be honest with you.
See, I would do,
Uh,
I was gonna say, so I would go 3, 1, 2, only because I think that the local partnerships really matter, and having local people involved who have grown up in our community and are stationed here in our community and live in our community, they know, they fly in and out of this airport all the time. They understand it from a unique standpoint as well.
Okay, so at this point, we have a 2, 1, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3.
I'm still trying to tally up what you just said.
Yeah, me too.
You don't have to,
But
well,
it doesn't matter.
on your
It
yellow
doesn't matter.
sheet, they're listed as
doing numbers and not names?
1, 2, and 3. You got myself and Mr. Andrews listing 1, 2, 3 as they're listed on the sheet. You have Mrs. Oliver listing their number 1 as the number 2.
No, 3, 1, 2.
Oh, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah.
3, 1, 2.
Mr. Chair, my ranking is, which is, it's just so difficult.
No, yeah,
because
it's
I'm
tough.
Just around these type of people and these contractors and stuff all the time. But I would rank him DeAngelis Diamond number 1, the Suffolk Atkins number 2, and Manhattan Michael Baker 3.
Okay.
I'm going to go with number 1 for Suffolk, number 2 Manhattan, and number 3 DeAngelis. Did you hear me?
You got that matrix figured now, James?
There you go.
Are we going to sum them? Or are we?
No, I don't know.
I think you'd count the number 1 votes,
Yeah.
count the number 2 votes, count the
Yeah.
number 3 votes, I would think.
Based on that, DeAngelis Diamond would be number 1, Manhattan would be number 2, and Suffolk would be number 3, I think.
Well, what do you
Well,
give, like
what?
3 points to number 1, 2 points to number 2,
Well, so that's
and 1
what I-
point to number 3?
We could do that.
What? So getting,
Explain that again.
So Vanessa, Ms. Oliver, if I could, you were, DeAngelis was number 2?
3.
I had,
3.
yeah, I had Suffolk as number 1,
Yeah,
DeAngelis is number 2, Manhattan is number 3.
okay.
Vanessa was saying if for a first place vote, you get 3 points. A second place vote, you get 2. Third place vote, you get 1.
Okay.
I'm not sure a weighted
Yeah.
scoring system would count. I mean, it's certainly a viable way.
It would change the outcome, probably.
James?
That would put DeAngelis Diamond at 12, Manhattan with 8, and Suffolk with 10, if you did 3, 2, 1 weighted. Am I correct, Vanessa?
You said 10.
Double check if I need my calculator.
Jim, you said 10 for Suffolk
Yes.
and an 8 on Manhattan.
Yes.
10 for Suffolk, 8 for Manhattan, and what for
12,
DeAngelis is 12.
based on those weighted scores.
So a weighted score, DeAngelis 1, and then just basically a count.
Basically as
as
1,
a-
2, and 3, DeAngelis 1.
Anybody have
I
a
know,
third
it's
one?
hard. They're all so good.
Can I-
Unfortunately, we can't award it to all 3.
Jim, can I write an equation and we take a derivative? And
Yeah, I think so.
find
Your
the low
calculations
point
were
or the
correct.
high point?
Thank you, ma'am.
Who's had the most experience in our airport? Jim? James?
It would be,
That's a
it would be a
question I-
toss-up between DeAngelis and AECom and Manhattan and Michael Baker. Those two are, Manhattan has never worked here before that I know of, not in my tenure, but Michael Baker has. DeAngelis and AECom are both very active
Okay.
on the airport. And unfortunately, Jay-Z is not with DeAngelis anymore. Did he retire?
He retired.
Oh, see, that's disappointing. Jay Zwack, who we just called Jay-Z, was their superintendent, who was like part of staff. It was really great having here. I will say, and I don't want to skew the votes, but I think the votes are in. The expansion project went much better than one would expect for all that was going on. And we got that built for, and Ray will tell me 1988 numbers don't count anymore, but this was 2017 numbers, and we got it for less per square foot than any other terminal in the, yeah, $200 a square foot, which.
And of course, a lot of that's driven by staff, you know.
And we're cheap.
Yeah, you got that right.
You're very cheap. Mr. Chair, if I might make a motion. I move that the board authorize staff to begin development of the scope of work, fee, and schedule with DeAngelis Diamond, because I think they came in first in our rankings, followed by Suffolk Atkins, followed by Manhattan Michael Baker International, and we would be just thrilled to have any of the three.
I would second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the chair has a motion and a second to rank the firms to our RFQ on the terminal expansion as DeAngelis Diamond AECom 1, number 2 Suffolk Atkins, and number 3 Manhattan Michael Baker International. Any further discussion? And remember, if they're not successful with number 1, they go to number 2 and number 3. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's unanimous.
So later on, I can say the board did it. No, I think no matter how we went, we were going to be very successful in this
And all the
project.
proposals were very good. I went through all these things.
Yes.
Now, I used to get paid for doing this.
I used to get, I will, you know, anybody who sat down and read all 5, but specifically the top 3, a lot of work, a lot of time, and it's terrible to have to make this decision.
Well, if you're
public,
sitting
but-
at the pool with a beer and the proposal, it goes pretty quick.
Well, my pool just opened last week, so.
Okay, moving on. Any public comments? Anyone wish to address the board in public comment? Seeing none. Any comments from the commissioners? Closing comments? Paul?
Other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank everyone for your presentations. It was good. Let's move on to the.
Okay. Mrs. Oliver.
I don't remember if I said this before, but the employee recognition is such a great addition to our meetings. I think it's so wonderful to get to celebrate all of staff and their many accomplishments. So thank you, whoever put that on the agenda a while back. I love it, and thank you so much. And thank you to all of those who bid out for our terminal expansion project. You all are spectacular, and we are so lucky to have this caliber of people bidding on our jobs. So thank you.
Mr. Hurston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations and thank you to the employees. You guys just are amazing. I'd love to just stop in on you guys and see what's going on. You guys are always working. It's nice. But it is good to see Commissioner Ken Doherty back there in the back of the room. Hey, Ken, it's always good to see you. Yeah, he's still. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I know we have our city council representative. But it's good to see Dr. Pitts. Always good to see you. And our great engineers out in the audience. We got Paul Pirro back there with Kimley Horn. And we got Mark Kistel, of course, with Michael Baker. But anyways, it's good to see everybody, and tough decision, everybody, but I think we all did a good job.
I have to agree with that. In all the years I've been here, this has been my toughest decision also. And thank you all for participating in the bidding for this terrific project. And I just want to say, remember, if you're available 8:30 at night on May 2nd, to come and say thank you to our veterans who will be returning on the honor flight here at our airport. This is the very first time they've flown out of our airport. When I went with them, we had to go down to Fort Myers to the airport down there. So it's a terrific event. These are wonderful people, and they fought for us. So come on out and tell them thanks. That's 8:30 p.m., May 2nd.
Mr. Hurston wants a second chance.
Ken Doherty, our county commissioner right now, who's probably one of the greatest engineers, and I had the pleasure of training under Ken Doherty, but he came to Charlotte County for this airport. We have Ken Doherty today just because of this airport.
That's
Mr.
right.
Chair,
He's been
I was
here.
about to say that.
Yeah.
I wanted to hit it with that. Commissioner Doherty started at the airport.
Yep.
That's how he came to Charlotte County.
He was right next to Wilbur and office.
Oh, mean.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
That wasn't nice.
Meeting's adjourned.